like to call this regular council meeting and work session to order. Would everybody please stand for a moment of silence? And let's remember all those who passed away during the month. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gerard? Mr. Devine?
Here.
Mr. Pezzett?
Here.
Ms. Cullen?
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Benny.
Mr. Gorman?
Present.
Mr. Petroci?
Present.
Mr. DiGiuseppe?
Here. Betty just texted me something must have happened because she said something came up. I can't get there. What's going on? We'll find out after. Okay, Jim's on vacation for 2 weeks, so we're going to wing this, do the best we can. Sally's here. If we have any questions, she's not going to be able to answer them all, but she could take notes and get Jim to answer them and email everybody back. So, Chief, do you have it? Let's go to public participation.
Thank you.
So is this the
Yeah, I guess this is the one that's up Went from March 1st to March 2nd.
Okay.
I think that's it, right?
All right.
Mike Warshewski, 695 Spring Street. And I'm here tonight, okay, how you doing tonight? So I'm here tonight to talk about a situation that I have at the property I live at. And the property joins the old Reedman Pontiac property. Right now it has BC Auto and the Dollar General store, right, at its location. So the place is owned by Joe Lieberman, and he's had it for probably about 25 years, I believe, at this point. And so what I see is a minimal amount of effort put into it to maintain it, to keep it up to spec, and there's lots or grassy plot areas in between the residences there, and behind me there's an old lot that used to be used for cars. When Reedman Pontiac had it, that they would repair and they would sit there. And that lot over the years has been changed by adding a new transformer and some other power lines into it, and they've disrupted the macadam, and now what they have is a lot of weeds that grow back there. So perhaps, 2-3 times a year they like to come out, this lawn service, and spray deformants. And glyphosate is the chemical of choice, and you know that that's not a very good chemical. To apply it in a commercial setting in the state of Pennsylvania, you really need to have a license through the state. You need to be trained and certified for the deployment of these materials. And it depends on what material you want to put out there, for what purpose, this type of training. It's not carte blanche, in other words. So I have been at the point since 2017. I came home one time, and I did notice after a couple of days there was a loss of grass along the foundation of the house, the whole fence line, the front of the property. There's the field that goes in between 697 and 695. And then on the other side of 697, there was an issue with, a loss of grass because it had been sprayed. And this lot was sprayed as well. So I contacted Bristol Borough, Mr. Dillon, and asked for some help. No help was available because they have no tools to work with, obviously, but they suggested using the state, which I did. And I got my dad, who was alive at the time, involved in a program that would give him notification, since he had sensitivities and lung conditions, would give him notification of spraying within 500 feet, 12 to 72 hours prior to that. So at first, that seemed to work out okay. A representative from the Agriculture Department came out, he surveyed the area, he agreed it had been sprayed, and it shouldn't have been sprayed where it was. And I think what he did, he notified the landscaper, Foraker, of the incident, but nothing was done. So that was 2017. 2018 was quiet. There was lots of time to sit back and get some calls in from some contractors that were going to deploy materials within 500 feet of the house. So I said, it works, it's good. 2019, I was home and I watched them one morning. They were out and they deployed materials. So I went out and confronted them, right? First I called downtown. I was trying to get a police officer to come out to intercede because they hadn't given any notice. There was no help available. Nobody would do anything. Everybody tells me it's a court matter. So I said, all right, it's a court matter. In the meantime, I took photographs. I contacted the state, the Agriculture Department, sent an agent out. I sat down with the agent, showed him evidence that I had of deployment, the photographs I took. He went through everything, took this back with him, filed a report, and got a hold of Foraker. That was what he related to me. So I called him probably 2 months later for a follow-up because I hadn't been notified as to what happened with this, the disposition of this matter. So he said, we usually don't get back to people, but they were fined because they didn't have a license. So that means no one had a license at this place. In addition to that, if they did have a license, the owner, for any employee to do that, he would have to be trained under that license and certified by the state also in order to do this. So this is for commercial application. So I said, okay, and they ended up, they fined them for not having a license. So that was 2019. 2020, I get a phone call about a month ago from Mr. Foraker, and he tells me they want to come out and spray glyphosate, and he wants to meet me and talk to me and show me, you know, what the plan of work is. So I said, fine, we'll take a look at that. So he showed up at the property, we had a discussion, and the owner of the property and I talked the day before, and he decided he did not want to have glyphosate sprayed on the property. But this contractor was pushing towards that, and finally he said, well, how about if I spray vinegar water, right? Would that be okay? And I looked at him and I said, well, I could probably, live with that, but I need to have your license number from the state to deploy materials, and I want to smell the material before you deploy it. And he turned and walked away from me and instructed his employee to cut the ground. Ralph, I think you were there. You saw the condition of the ground that I'm talking about, right? So they basically took a weed whacker and they had it down in about 30 minutes. It was done. So if they did that more frequently, they wouldn't need to use the materials like this next to the house. So my thought about the whole thing is, to cut to the chase, is that if these folks were permitted, right? If you have to get a permit, I have to get a permit to put some drywall up. But if they were permitted by the borough, we would be able to track the contractor and know that he's got a license from the state to deploy materials. And in addition to that, we would know on record what materials were deployed. So that's what I'm asking the council to consider, if we could have a work permit system.
I think tonight's your lucky night because Sally's here and she deals with contractors.
There you go.
every
That's why I
day.
showed up tonight.
And I don't know, I know we need them. I have one, I'm sure Dave has one as through the state, but I don't know if you need them for pesticides or anything. I think that's all.
No, you don't.
That's all through a whole different agency. I don't know if we have any jurisdiction over that. I mean, I'll look into it. I'll have Mr. Dillon, Sally she's making notes on this whole thing. I know when I met with you that I came there you called me, I was there within a half hour.
Yes.
I went back, I talked to John Miller. John said he don't think that we have any jurisdiction over somebody spraying. It's a pesticide company that's out there. Whether they're not licensed or not, that's really, I don't think, we have no say over that. I don't know, Billy, what do you think?
Well, it doesn't sound like it's something we can't issue a permit.
No.
It's something we don't permit. I mean, not permit. We don't issue permits for something like that. So we can't control that. If it's a health hazard, I don't know, we refer that to the county or whatever.
DEP possibly.
To come back to it, just recently, Monsanto Chemical, who pioneered this material, this glyphosate, it's their flagship Roundup, I'm sure everybody's heard of it. $10 billion was the settlement they just had for cancer cases. So it's a blood cancer is what it amounts to. And I really don't feel that I should have to be subject to this as a solution to their problem. It doesn't seem right.
Right.
That the homeowner and the taxpayer doesn't get the opportunity to say, enough, I don't want this material here. Come up with a Plan B.
And I don't think we're sitting here disagreeing with anything.
I hear that.
I just don't know
Yeah.
how we can go to somebody and say, don't spray that first of all, it's on their property. It's not on borough property.
But the state, if you go to Chapter 7, 128, it's 41 to 20, or yeah, 41 to 53 or something like that. That whole section deals with the need to have licensing to deploy these products and who has to do it.
Right.
So, yeah, they are supposed to be licensed for commercial application, that's what I'm talking about. So, I mean, I don't know where, Bill, I don't know where your ideas come from, I mean,
I think you talk to John, see if there's any way we can get involved. If somebody's spraying something that's illegal, and it's outside, maybe we have some rights to cite some people, or find out who does.
Right.
Talk to Paul also.
Yeah.
This is something we've never dealt with before.
I understand, and it's a tough one.
I'm sure to the extent we can get involved, we will, or refer you to the right people, but it's not a permitting thing where we say you need a permit to do that.
spray.
It's not something within our
And
jurisdiction.
I said, whenever there's a complaint, we could send out for high grass and we could cite them for
Definitely
things
for
like
that,
that.
yeah.
But
Well, in California and in New Jersey, there are municipalities over there that are moving towards banning the material from use. So I don't understand how we can do this in other states, and here in Pennsylvania, Bristol Borough can't step up to the plate and say, we'd like to, not stop this, but we want to understand that for our residents, that people are licensed to use the material.
Maybe we can.
That's what I'm asking, really.
This is all new to us.
Yeah,
I know,
if I'm hearing it right, I'm hearing you not say that they can't spray anything. You just want to make sure that there is a central location that these people are going to be able to, have their file on record to say they have,
yeah.
registered and certified sprayers that are in the borough and will have a record of what they're spraying.
Well, you'll have that, right, but you'll also maybe slow down the use of materials by people that shouldn't be using it, right? And by the time they do something and I get involved in it, I have to contact the state. We're talking probably about a month. The damage is already done. The material's been
Right,
deployed.
right.
There's no way to stop it. But if I go out there and somebody's deploying material and I say, excuse me, but do you have a permit? And they do not have it, then I can call down to downtown to Mr. Dillon, and he can deploy, code enforcement to go out and take a look at it.
To me, it seems unreasonable not to believe that we could have the ability to stop people from spraying. Like, even though people are saying they're spraying something on their own property, it's in the air, it's going to go onto other people's property because of wind. So you're not just dealing with that person's property.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is commercial regulation, right, based on licensing in the state. It's different
and
than
you're
saying,
talking different what he's talking about.
yeah, I'm not talking about the average Joe homeowner who goes to Home Depot and gets a jug.
Right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you've done extensive research, obviously. From what you said, it sounds like there is a regulatory body, it's the state, they're just not doing it. Is that
Well, it's the
right?
agricultural aspect of the state.
But
and-
they're not, but they're too big of a bureaucracy to actually handle what needs to be
Well,
handled.
they're slow, they're large. I mean, the larger a bureaucracy gets, the harder it gets to, use it, right? I mean, they're willing to service you when they come
Sure,
around
no,
and
I
get your
understand.
attention, but,
Yeah, I defer obviously to Mr. Salerno, I don't know, but it seems like, I don't know, if that agency could give local municipalities guidance on how to even do that, that would seem to make sense, but I don't know.
You brought it to everybody's attention. We'll definitely be in touch.
okay.
Go ahead,
Mike,
Paul.
what is the chemical?
What is the,
What is the chemical?
oh, it's glyphosate.
Spell it.
Glyphosate. Glyphosate.
Okay, is there a commercial name?
Roundup.
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 Now, there's another study's been performed recently by U.S. Scientists, and they found that the glyphosate, they're disagreeing with the World Health Organization, isn't necessarily the problem with the blood cancer. They're looking at other ingredients in the Roundup itself as being more of a contributor. So I'm not sure. I mean, nobody's sure. It's just like secondhand smoke. Nobody was sure. But people are getting sick.
And
Starting point.
Yeah.
to see if it's banned or
And
not.
instead of, I don't want to mention names right now, but maybe we could find out, we'll get your email, who the contractor is that's spraying it. I'm sure you know
I
who
have
that
them,
is too.
yes. They
I don't want to say
contact,
that because I don't want you to get sued or
Oh.
somebody saying that he's doing something wrong.
Mike, could
He
you,
may not be.
okay.
could you
He may
email-
not be.
Yeah, I don't want to put you in a bad position tonight to say, so
Okay.
we'll talk off the record.
email, could you email Jim or whatever, your basics, just the basic of what you said and what you're requesting, but the information you have about the
I'm gonna
chemical
email-
and about the contract?
I'll mail a packet of materials that I have from this
Or
to everybody in the
drop them off
council.
here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Drop them off, Sally's here, she'll,
Well, you want me to email or you want it dropped off?
Either way, you could do either way. It's
The
up to you.
email, we all can copy it then.
I was just gonna
I'll
email it
get
to everybody.
Well, just
What I have.
just to Jim is enough, or
Okay.
Sally. She'll spread it. out.
Sally, and you don't want it?
She'll send it.
I'll forward
Okay.
it on.
I'll give it to you, Sally.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
1 minute.
I guess I just have one question. Do we have any authority for anything like this where a state has requirements, but of course, they're not going to be aware if somebody comes in and does
They're
something
not.
against their requirements? So don't we have any power there to at least stop a cease and desist order from our?
We might, if it's a banned chemical and somebody's doing it, we might. It would just, there's a lot
Rather
of
than us
facts.
get involved with the permitting process, because that's,
Yeah, I think our biggest problem is going to be is to prove that's what he's putting down without physically getting some of that chemical and having it analyzed. This isn't something that's just going to be, the guy's going to say, here's my tank, it's not Roundup and it's not whatever you're.
My home brew, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's my
got it.
vinegar that I'm spraying.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, could I have somebody to test it? No, I'm not going to give you anything.
No.
So there's a lot more to this whole story, but you brought it to everybody's attention. It's not going to just be pushed aside. I don't know if anything could be done, but I can guarantee you Sally and Bill will do what they have to do, and you'll be hearing from them.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All right, Dave?
Yeah, Merle, when Amtrak sprays, they give you notice, right?
It depends. When they do the track from the top down, I don't know if they do that at night.
Right. But when they do,
They're not,
when they do the side and all that, do they get a hold of
they're
you?
not going to be doing that now.
Yeah, I know, but they have done it in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought Amtrak gave you 72 hours notice or something.
No, I haven't gotten any, all I knew was that they were going to come in a time period, and, not specific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a good night.
Mark?
That's it for public comment.
That ends public participation. Michael, you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to just take the opportunity to thank everyone who came out on Saturday to jumpstart historic Bristol Borough into the fall and keep historic Bristol Borough beautiful. We had many volunteers that came out that helped me and others to go pick up the mums, deliver them, and hang them. And while that was going on, there were many people that were there that were picking weeds and cleaning up and picking up trash. And if I could, just to say, it's a crazy time right now, and there's a lot of unnecessary trash on the streets. And if anybody, if you're walking or whatever, if you can, maybe take a glove with you. If you need gloves, we have them at Raising the Bar. But just, if you could just be conscious of it, every little bit helps, and just throw it in the containers, just to keep us on the beautiful side. So I just wanted to mention that. Also, I don't know if this is the time that I should mention that I think it's really important that to extend a resolution for the outdoor retail and restaurants. We had adopted that. It went for 90 days. We were all hoping that we'd be past this at this point, and we're not. So I think it's important for us to just see about extending that resolution so that the businesses could continue to generate anything they can so that they could be here when this is all over.
So does that need to
I
be an
think that's
agenda
it.
item? That need to be an agenda item?
Yeah, we could add it to the agenda and then for next
Well,
month.
that's it. From that,
Tonight.
Oh, tonight, okay, cool,
now,
cool.
put that down for agenda item.
Okay, I think that's it.
Nothing at this point.
Dave?
Yes, thank you. Besides Mike giving me a call about the pesticides, I also got a call, mosquitoes are bad this year. Is there any mosquito spraying done? I know sometimes township does it. Does the borough have any,
Right now, I have Merle looking into getting pricing to get the town sprayed.
thank you, Ralph.
You want to give us an update on that, Merle? See that, Dave?
Yeah, I was in touch with the county, expecting to get a vendor that we'd used in the past, but he had told me that they were basically at a standstill because of the virus with personnel. So he said, we're at the end of the season now, he said, and I'd be glad to come out and talk to you about, setting something up for next year. So we're getting the colder nights now, so I don't think there's going to be a problem from here on out. So,
Okay, thank you.
I just think we need to do something, if it's next year, and then maybe in the middle of the summer, because the mosquitoes are out of control in town. So that's why we have Merle working on it.
Thank you. I also would like to thank Lynn and Ron Marshall. They put out some of their own money to a local to try to clean up the Pine Street Bridge. That was much appreciated. And also I'd like to thank Merle, who arranged a meeting with Amtrak last week. The meeting was supposed to be at 10 o'clock next to my sister's house, which is like a bomb hit with that fence there. And Merle was there, my sister was there, and I arrived at 10. I was working, and I stayed till 10:30, and Amtrak didn't show up till 11:15. And Merle was nice enough to stay and talk to him, as was my sister. Could you give us an update on how that went with Amtrak, Merle, please?
as everybody knows, since the 2012 complete cleanup of the embankments from the Otter Creek to the Green Lane Bridge, it's all grown back, and it hasn't been adjusted or dealt with since that. At that time, they took down all the trees, all the shrubs, and got everything looking like it used to years ago. Where Dave's sister lives on Pine Street, where the railroad bridge is, they put the big heavy-duty fence up at both ends. They end capped it at Pine Street and Spruce Street, and they put drive gates on the alley between Pine and Spruce so that they could get in there if they need to. It's all overgrown now. The grass is taller than myself up against Mrs. Ritter's property line, and it took me about maybe an hour and a half to actually find some of the existing Amtrak people, because a lot of them retired and a lot of them got shuffled into different departments. So the numbers had changed. So luckily, I did get in touch with the supervisor that we needed, and he made an appointment for that Monday morning at 10 o'clock to be out there. He told me he would have his assistant come out with a crew that'll actually cut and clean up the area between the property owner's fence and partially up the embankment, which will clean everything up pretty good. They haven't been out yet, but we were going to be put on a schedule, and they have other municipalities on a schedule already. So I'm going to make sure that we stay on this if we can. I asked them to go from the Otter Creek Bridge to Green Lane, so I'm hoping they're going to do the whole thing. And at the time I talked to them that morning, I checked the Adams Hollow Creek, and the beavers have built another dam over there, so they're going to have to come in, and also he said they would address that too. So It's just a check every day to see what they're doing, where they are, if they come in.
My sister says, he said, we're gonna do this once a year. Did you hear him say that? We're gonna try to do this once a year now?
Well, if, I don't know when they're, the regular time would be, but I don't know how you can, why let it grow that, all that time if you don't do it? I would say they should do it at least a couple of times a year, maybe.
And that's the first time they've been back since
Yeah.
they put the damn fence up. That was terrible. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you making that meeting here. And, for my own information here, I was working in Harriman today. And Harriman's, they got 4 houses in a row, sometimes there's 6 houses in a row. And the two end properties are set up pretty good where they can get their trash out front. But the people stuck in the middle, gotta walk, if the people aren't nice, they gotta walk their trash through their house. If the people won't let them walk through the property. So I put a back roof on today, and of course the neighbors were fighting, and we were kind of like on pins and needles all day. Hopefully that to remove the trash, and didn't want to walk through the lady's house with the trash, so we're looking down the street, all day long. I always thought, when those houses were there, maybe you can answer this question, Mr. Salerno, that there was easements put in there where you had the right to go out there. Am I correct, or a person who owns them houses can just say, that's it, no more? How's that work down there?
Well, there is no easement that was granted to the people in the middle, then they don't have a right. If the people on the end, or if the people next to them want to grant them an easement, they can do that.
But when those houses were built, there was never a understanding that those middle houses have to sometimes go around?
I would have to look at the deeds.
Okay, could you do that for me, please? Because that was,
You want me to pull the deeds?
no, not.
Well, get back to Sally as to what, we'll look at one as an example.
Okay.
Is there 4 or 6?
Pardon me?
4 or 6?
46, yes, the house.
What are the addresses she wants to?
That's what I'm saying. I want to pick one.
Let Joe live there, so I'm sure.
That's what I was going to say. I lived there for about 40 years. The only easements that were ever there were the right-of-way by the electric company with the poles in the back. Over the years, everybody encroached on that, and the fences are up there. But fortunately, I had good neighbors. We agreed, I put a gate in, I can go through. You gotta get to the next person, put a gate in. That's generally the way it is.
I mean, listen, if there are no easements, the people are going to have to grant them, which they may not want to. The other thing is, then there's going to have to be gates. In a lot of these, there are no gates.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I lived on the end also, the one time.
And I lived on the end.
Yeah,
We
I mean-
allowed the person to get a gate, and they came through. That's, I
The
did.
person on the end says, stay off my property, what do you do?
All right.
If I had a job where I did a deck, I had to hand the lumber through the window, and then they grabbed it and handed it through the next window, so it wasn't easy.
One time I had to put ladders up, chicken ladder up the top, chicken ladder down the back, and get down on the roof that way. Because either one, they had 6-foot fences with no gates. So,
We do have ongoing instances with PICO that they have to get to those poles in the backyards, because if they don't, people won't get their electric back. So they go through driveways and bring in smaller pieces of equipment sometimes to get there, to put a transformer on.
I don't believe that you have any right to cross somebody's property. I don't think that, I could be wrong, but
Yeah.
I always thought you had to give a contractor the right to fix. You can't say, let's say Dave had to put a ladder up to get to a roof. I don't think they could say to him, you can't put that ladder up, because he has to
Well,
make that repair.
if it's, let's say you're talking about, there's a side yard, and I have to put my ladder on the side yard, and my
Right.
ladder has to be in your property, that's right. But
Right.
here, he's talking about putting the ladder, the work
Right.
in the back, not on these people's
Right,
property.
exactly.
That's a different issue. If council authorizes, I'll pull, give Sally the addresses, I'll pull those 4 or 6 deeds, and I'll look. My guess is there's nothing there. There's always a PICO easement, there's a sewer easement.
Isn't there also, Mr. Salerno, I forget the term, but if it's been used a certain way for a certain amount of time, that it's grandfathered in, it becomes understood?
Well, there's a prescriptive easement. It's not easy to prove, because if the neighbor gives you permission, there's no prescriptive rights. It has to be without permission.
Right.
Which is like,
It's like there's like a
the
word
cattle
for it.
ranch.
Yeah.
Where
It's such a weird thing, right? If you're doing it illegally for a certain amount of time, it becomes legal, basically, right?
Well, if you're doing it and they don't say anything
Right.
for so many years, yes.
You get it.
But it's not an easy thing to prove.
Gotcha.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Bill, can you also check just to see if there's alleyways that have been
Encroached upon?
encroached upon? And I think that's happened in a few places, because I know, like on Hay Street, behind Hay Street, there's alleys behind those houses, so you can
Like-
still get out that way.
I doubt it, but we'll just look at the tax map.
Just to
That
take
will
a
tell
look at the
us.
tax map, just to see.
That will
if-
tell us.
Yeah, nothing, you don't have to go into great detail there, but just to see.
Of course, the alley would have to be big enough for a trash truck to come down next.
Or big enough for a person to carry their trash out to the,
I got a couple things. With the fire department, the chiefs met on the 25th of August as part of the monthly meeting. There's still some smoke detectors available. Unfortunately, the Red Cross smoke alarm program that was scheduled for 2020 has been canceled. We still don't have any CO2 or CO smoke detectors or carbon dioxide detectors. The fire companies continue to provide detailed data to the PADCED for the emergency services. We're waiting to hear back, as I understand it, they're almost done, the township, and they're planning to have some type of meeting with the township, but I think we're secondary there. Emergency responses for August were 29 medical-related emergencies in town and 37 fire rescue-related emergencies in town. 29 EMS responses, 4 were cardiac arrest, and they were overdoses. 3 respiratory distress, 2 fall victims, 12 other medical emergencies. That's it for fire department. Police department. Remember last month in Trenton Avenue, we had a shooting. Shooting was ruled a suicide. Chief wanted to reach out and thank the neighbors for their patience and empathy, and thanks to the Bucks County detectives for their assistance. Our officers attended a Zoom viewing of Walking While Black that was put on by the Peace Center. It's another part of our educational process that the chief has put in place in helping to educate our officers. Chief Henry met with members of the NAACP, local churches, along with Congressman Fitzpatrick, in an effort to keep open lines of communications. Sergeant Moores completed 3 separate law enforcement supervising training programs. They're FBI training programs. I wanted to congratulate him on that. Our officers visited with the Children of God Angelinas on the last day of summer camp. They treated our officers to donuts. And I think that's it for that. During the month, Bristol Borough had 919 calls for service within the police department. It's about a drop-off of about 100 calls this month. That's it for me.
Tony?
Thank you.
Most of the stuff that I have is just going to be talking about for these meetings, for our agenda, so I'm going to hold off on them.
Again, Tony?
I said, most of the stuff that I'm going to talk about is going to be when we talk about the agenda, when you ask for questions or comments.
We can do it now.
Well, it just takes everything out of order, I'd just rather, it's not going to take
No
long.
problem.
The first thing I do want to ask, Ralph, do I still have your support in creating that Central Park with new basketball courts, upgraded garden, a skate park, all that type of stuff that we were talking
I don't
about?
think we ever talked about what was going there.
No, but
You
just the
just said you
idea.
want to do something with a park.
Yeah,
Since you have spoken, there's been a lot of talk that people said, why don't he just do something at the park that's there? We have a park 100 or 200 feet up the street that's sitting there. Why don't we do something with that? I don't know, maybe you
what's
got...
that mean? 200 feet up the street,
Well,
what's
the
that?
Grundy Park, there's a park sitting there. why don't you want to try to get some money to do something there?
Are we talking about where the basketball courts are now?
No, the
Where?
park on Beaver,
Prospect and,
Oh, where the old courts were?
that massive piece of ground just sitting there.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, the Central Park idea is right there in the middle of town, it's just, to me, it's
That's
perfect.
central, so why wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
because the area down there would just be perfect. We can also utilize Grundy Park too, if we can.
I don't know, do you have funds coming in or something that you
No, this is what I mean, because this is what we talked about before, because you have to realize.
you're calling meetings to discuss doing something there, I don't know, you got funding available or something to take these streets down and move forward?
Look,
I don't know where you're going, you didn't discuss anything with us except I want to do a
because there's
park.
nothing to discuss until if you're on board like you said,
Okay, so
then
if
we
I'm
can
on
discuss.
board,
Yeah,
which I said I would be,
well
where
then,
we going with it?
to make that a centerpiece of the town.
Okay,
That's what I'm talking about, yeah. Because here's the situation. The situation is with the rink, the problem with the rink is that our kids, our residents never got a chance to utilize it for recreation.
exactly right.
So now, the thing about it, what's frustrating, I understand, it was like an albatross around our neck, the 650 or 660,000 that we paid each year, and our kids weren't able to use it. So, and like, to me, if we are getting rid of that rink and freeing up debt service, I want to use, I have no problem, like I told you from the beginning, to take out a loan, then we could work together to, come up with some, to find some grant money, just like we do from other stuff. Utilize Gilmore, utilize, the people who are able to, do the grant fund, the writing and the funding or wherever it is, to incorporate it for recreation. To me, that's where a combination of loans and grants to support it. I mean, like I told you before, this is the beginning. This is just talking, getting people interested, and there are people who are interested.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You're saying we have on our agenda tonight to pay off the loan for the rink. Not pay it off, continue paying the 660 a year and take that $4 million and put it into Chestnut and Elm Street? Is that your recommendation?
No, I'm saying after you pay this off, we're gonna talk, I mean, there's two things that I feel about. The first issue is this, I don't think, and I understand, the rink is not this council's issue, but like, it's still the residents that paid this money. So the residents are going to take a $7 million, $8 million hit, which is a major, hit for the taxpayer.
Why are they taking a hit?
What do you mean? Because we paid over $11 million for the rink and we're selling it for $4 million. Don't you call that a hit, a loss? Oh, well, that's what I'm saying. So like, I see that everyone got excited and, I heard a lot of hooting and hollering because I wasn't at the last council meeting, but like, it's still a hit. And if we're taking that hit and then we're not putting it back into big recreation, not just, from what I heard, you said you want to take $100,000 and put it in rec. $100,000 is not going to do anything to turn.
We don't have any, we only sold the rink for $4 million. We owed 3.7.
Okay.
Time we paid settlement costs and everything, what are we clearing? 200 and some thousand? So I don't understand, and we said we'll take that money and invest it into recreation and certain things. Grundy Foundation wanted us to take a part of that also and put it into recreation.
Okay.
I don't know where you're going, but I know that if you want to take the 660,000 a year and vote tonight, you can make a motion not to pay off the rink or continue the debt service and put that money into recreation, make that motion.
All right, well, before I make a motion, I want to make sure you guys understand and that you're on board with creating something that isn't just a facelift
I
for
don't
the
think you
basketball
have
court.
a clue on what it's going to cost. So for us to all say we're on board with what? The
You said- wait,
concept, the concept,
The same
yeah,
thing
I'm
that
on-
you talked about
if you're
before, you
on
said
board-
you were on
If you're talking
board.
about a concept, yeah, I'm on board with a concept.
All right, well,
But you
I could
need to
te-
figure out money-wise, where are you getting the money?
All right, well, let's just go
I
to
will
this.
not vote to put the taxpayers in debt again for recreation. I will not do that.
Okay, well,
If you want to make that motion, you can.
no, I absolutely would act, because the only place that we have any type of leeway is going to be in the debt service. So it's basically either you're going to do something big for the residents and recreation, or you're going to do something, you're going to be taking loans out for something, and then you're going to go over to Elm Street now, which leads to the second part, which is now the taxpayer already took a hit, a $7 or $8 million loss on the rink that they didn't get to use. Now we're going to take, what's going to cost us probably close to $3 million to buy up Elm Street and Chestnut Street, knock that down, and then do what with it? We're going to sell it for pennies on the dollar to a developer so they could develop a property over there?
Okay, and if you did, how about the tax money?
Yeah, but how much tax money are you going to get?
Well,
It's going to be 100 years before you
A
even...
new home pays about $8,000 a year in taxes.
Okay, and out of that taxes, we get how much? 2,000 of the 8,000?
What I think happens is, the rink, you take something that is is positive, and you tried it to change the whole concept of what's going on. You owe 7 million, you lost 7. What did you want this council to do? We did the best we can do. Didn't you have somebody that wanted to buy it?
Ralph,
Wait, let me finish.
this
Did
is,
you
I'm
show
talking.
the rink?
Listen,
Did you
number
show-
one, I'm speaking. This
I
is
get
not,
it,
this
Tony.
is,
When you're done, let
yeah,
me know.
then you can speak,
Yeah.
do your thing. I thought we were just having a conversation about what I was talking about. I didn't know
I
that
am,
you...
I'm trying to explain something to you, but you want that
No,
guy...
you want to turn it into something negative.
I don't want to go into anything, do what you want.
All right, well then, this is what I'm saying. So, what we're going to do is, the residents are going to get screwed twice is what's going to happen. So they're going to lose 7 million with the rink, right? And if we don't turn around and give something to these kids and the residents in recreation, then we're going to do that $3 million that we pay for Chestnut and Elm Street, again, taxpayer money. You're going to, a developer's going to get it for pennies on the dollar. They're not going to pay $3 million for that plot of land. And then they're going to build. So they're going to make money off of the residents. I'm not okay with that. If we're spending that much money, it should be used for the residents. And there's nothing better than for this community to have something in that area. Central Park, very similar to the one they have in Bristol Township, and it wouldn't be as big because you wouldn't need all those fields because we already have the baseball fields. But just to have that area to do other things, it just doesn't have to be about Mill Street and the wharf, right? We need to bring people into the center of town. And we talk about this all the time, but we never do anything about it. So, to me, I'm willing to take a loan out and create some debt in the debt service to make this happen. That's what I'm willing to do.
Put on the agenda, make a motion.
All right, we will. And then the second part, which leads me to the actual rink, the process itself. And I'm very disappointed at all the council members that were at that meeting, not to ask any questions. Like, Ralph, this is what I don't understand is,
Where were you?
how can, I'm sorry, what, Michael?
Where were you?
What does it matter? Are you speaking out of turn?
Sorry.
Are you speaking out of turn, Michael?
Go ahead,
No, I'm just saying, I'm just looking at, he's new, he doesn't understand the rules.
Tony, go ahead.
So the rules are, when the person's speaking,
Tony.
right, if you wanted to speak, you raise your
Tony.
hand. What, why do I get it? And he doesn't?
He knows he was out of order.
Oh, okay, I didn't know if he
Never mind.
understood it or not. All right, so now he does.
But I have comments.
So moving forward with the rink, this is what I'm disappointed at, okay? Mr. Gorman.
Yes.
Is that we sold,
questions
we
today.
used the word, yes, can you tell Mr. Gorman this? We used our residents' money to sell a rink, right? Did you have any part of it as an elected official?
Michael,
Did you have, can you ask, well,
address your questions to me.
all right, Mr. DiGiuseppe, can you ask Mr. Gorman if he had any part in the negotiations of the skating rink?
No,
Okay.
I'm answering it.
All right, it's what you do anyway. Mr. Quattrochi, did you have any?
No,
Okay. Mr. Gerard?
no,
Mr. Pezza?
no,
Ms. Cullen?
I did get an email that someone was
no,
interested.
she didn't have anything to do
But I
with
didn't
it.
have anything to do with the,
Oh, you got an email that you were interested in.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is, you made this big deal that it was your non-disclosure confidentiality agreement. How could it be a confidentiality agreement? And you spoke to, after watching the meeting, you spoke to your son, and the only two people you said that you were able to talk to was the solicitor and Mr. Dillon.
Right.
But you talked to your son, you talked to Gene Williams, so how is it that those people are able to do it, but the people who were voted by the residents aren't a part of that process? And then you spring it on this council without even talking about it at a meeting, and everyone's going like it's a great thing that we just lost $7 or $8 million, and we still don't have anything for our kids to do.
So do you think we should have not sold the rink?
No, I just think that the process needs to be open. It's
Okay,
not,
so let's back up a minute.
so, wait a second, let me finish. So, the problem that I have is, you are the one that's doing everything, and now you want to make it sound like that I'm the person who is negative and bringing things on. I'm just telling you, as a council, we should be the ones that we're talking about it as a group. It's not, Ralph, as much as you think that this is your town, right, it isn't your town, right? So the things that you're doing is, you've been here so long, you feel so comfortable that you don't have to have anybody else's input. You can do anything that you want, and that's a problem. And like I said to you before, I understand it was an albatross around our neck, that's $660,000. But there's two things that happened. Remember, we refinanced that loan. We had $1 million that we took out that we could have put towards the principal of that loan. But we decided to take the $1 million out and use it to buy up more properties. So we extended it longer than we had to, right? So we used it because we got a good rate, and I understood. But here's the thing about it. We don't have anything for this community to do for the kids, now the older residents that want to start,
I think we have a lot for the community.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't, so that's the point.
Maybe things that you want them to do, but I think I'm going to answer your question.
Okay,
You're right.
so that is the first part. Spent $3 million Chestnut.
Yeah.
I know.
What's not true?
Don't worry, Phil, let it go.
No, what's not true, Mr.
Yeah,
Salerno?
Johnny.
Good.
All right, when is the settlement for the rink? It was supposed to be August
Already sold.
31st.
It's already sold and done.
The settlement already happened?
Yep.
This 30,
Sold and done, all right. Can we see the paperwork?
we'll have to ask the authority.
You have to ask the authority. So here's the other issue that I have. So, Mr. Di Giuseppe was able to get all this stuff done before a council meeting. He's able to negotiate with whoever's buying the property, just him, nobody else knows about it, except him and his son. His son's giving him ideas of what to do. And then he's able to go and talk to the authority, probably without even any type of meeting, so he gets to dictate to them. How many people on that authority did you appoint, Mr. Di Giuseppe?
I have no idea.
All of them. So the next thing, so you have all the votes that you need there, so you don't need them, right? You don't need to talk to them, you just tell them this is what we're doing. And then you go and you talk to Grundy's to get the okay to get rid of the statement that we needed to only include, it has to be used for recreation. You got Grundy to lift that limitation so that we could get, you did all these things and you still didn't talk to any of us. You come to a meeting and then you tell us, look what I did, look what I did, look what I did. And guess what you forgot? You forgot to tell us what you did. And we're supposed to be a council. You said that you're supposed to have just as much of a vote as we are, just as much power, and it's not true. So all I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with it, but everyone else here needs to step up and ask these questions. I was disappointed that nobody on this floor asked any of those questions.
All right.
All right, that's with the rink. The next thing is, Mr. Salerno, since you want to get involved,
Want me to finish the rink?
no, we'll talk about it when I'm finished. Mr. Salerno, since you want to get involved, I got another question for you.
Questions?
I know.
No, this is for Mr. Salerno.
Go ahead.
Mr. Salerno, I want to, how in the world can we do, how can we extend alerta for Mill Run? Explain this to council, how we can extend, have a motion to extend alerta for Mill Run, when you told us we didn't even have alerta. Can you explain that to me?
You can explain it, he's not going to understand.
Okay, I'm going to say.
No, because he's so dumb, he won't understand it. So just look at the
You want him to
language.
answer it or no?
Well, I don't need your comments, right?
I'm saying, you're not gonna
He's not gonna
understand it.
Why, because you're a genius?
No, I'm not a genius,
All right, well
but I'll
then,
let him
we don't
explain
need-
it.
Well, I don't need your condescending little comments.
Okay, don't answer the question. Now
There you
what?
go, listen to him. Listen to your
What else
boss.
do you have? What else do you have?
Okay, number one, Mayor, again, I know you enjoy this because you like to hear yourself talk as well. But the solicitor works for council, not for the council president. Did you know that?
Right.
Did you know that?
Absolutely.
Okay. But you just said that he was the council president. So,
right,
do you
Tony,
follow
what
the leader too?
Tony, do you have anything else?
Do you,
Or I'm
no,
good.
he's in charge of facilitating the meeting, not in charge of the meeting.
You need to listen to
Tony.
him.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Just like you do.
You want to continue?
No, I want him to.
I'm calling
be
a
the mayor.
recess. Meeting's in recess.
For what?
All right, now listen to me. Where's the chief?
Chief.
Okay. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Mr. Devine, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. All right, so, Council President, I would like to ask Mr. Salerno, who is the solicitor for the council, not for the president, could you explain to us how we can have a motion that we're going to extend a LERTA for Mill Run, and at the same time, you tell this council that Mill Run never had a LERTA?
Can you explain that, Mr. Salerno?
As I explained last time, that property is LERTA designated, which means it's available for a LERTA, okay? So it's designated, and it was designated for 5 years. And we anticipated that during that 5 years, they would have pulled the UNO and started their LERTA exemption for 10 years, okay? So they could have started it in the 4th year. It still would be 10 years of exemption. They didn't pull the UNO because they're backed up, and they asked that we extend the designation for 5 years. Once they pull the UNO, the 10-year LERTA exemption will begin. Two different things, designation and exemption.
Okay. So, I would like to say that everybody on this council was under the impression that Mill Run had a LERTA. Every single one of us.
Well, I don't know why they thought that.
Because
they
that's
never-
what you
they
told
never-
us.
No, they never applied for it.
All right,
The
because this
property
is what
is
happened.
designated.
This is what happened. You sold us a bill of goods that they are going in there, and within a year, that they were going to take over for the RDA and start paying and get their UNO. That's what we talked about at that meeting. You made it sound like they're going to be there in a year, at most 2 years. It's now 5 years. Nothing has happened. Now what you're saying is we're designating something another 5 years, again, which means nothing. So we're giving them more time to not do what they said they were going to do from the beginning. And I understand there's hard times and things come up, and, but 2020 and the COVID is not an excuse for Mill Run, right? It's not an excuse. They've had plenty of time. I think that we were all disappointed, including our East Ward council members, of how slow the process was. Now, we had everybody thinking that, it was going to be a LERTA. It was our impression that we were still getting the base amount for what they paid for it, which was, if they paid, I think it was like $435,000, that we were still getting that as a tax, as our base tax on the 435. And then we find out that it doesn't, and they go under the RDA, which you tell us is something that's great, but it's like the RDA protects them from doing stuff. So who pays? Is the RDA the one who pays when they have to pay, for permits? Who pays that?
The builder
The builder pays that,
and the owner.
and the owner. So the RDA has nothing to do with paying permits and everything else.
I'm aware of.
All right. So, that is the next one. The next thing I wanted to bring up, and this would be for you, Mr. Dees, is that because you guaranteed this 100%. Has Mark Carter been reappointed to the Civil Service Commission yet?
No appointment's been made to anything.
Okay, so when you said that it's 99% and you changed it to 100%, did anybody reach out to Mark Carter and ask him if he wanted to be on the Civil Service
Yes,
Commission?
they did.
Did somebody answer you?
And,
No.
yeah, it's up to the chief.
Mr. Gorman met with him, he's interested, and we will appoint him when we do our positions.
Okay. And that's all I have for that.
Okay.
Just to bounce off of the last comment from Mr. Devine, I had asked if we could accept very informal rudimentary applications up until September 1st for boards and commissions. Put it out on Facebook, I put it everywhere I could, mentioned it as many times as I could here, and that deadline came, and I reached out to Mr. Dillon and asked him how many applications we got. I will be honest, I didn't go through every name yet. There are a few, but not many. And I am 90% sure, Mr. Dillon's not here, but I'm 90% sure that Mark's not one of them, who actually took us up on that. I think we're all interested in reaching out to Mark, and I hope we can still do that, which is why, among other reasons, one, we haven't seen a lot of interest. Two, like we've all known, it's been a crazy summer. I want to give people maybe a little bit longer time to consider some of these positions up until November 1st. So
I don't
maybe-
think we need an application to appoint somebody either.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, back to, maybe we can dull it down a little bit. I
Right.
do think the people that did it already should be
Yeah,
rewarded for
consider.
doing that. And then people who just maybe want to send an email of interest.
Right.
Just say, I'm interested. I just think that initiative is at least worthwhile to show that you actually have some legitimate
Right.
initiative there. So I'm requesting that you guys be okay with us just saying, let's wait another month and a half or so just to see if we can drum up a little bit more interest. And again, even though, one of our esteemed school board members asked me if these positions would be open to white people, it will be open to white people, Mr. Ruzin, I promise you. But I would like to see people with, diverse backgrounds apply. And that is certainly still a goal of mine, to have our boards and commissions look a little bit more like our borough does. So that's one request. Question for you, Merle. So since I've been home a lot more than I had been in the past, and I know you've dealt with this for so long, but what are the trains blowing their horns about for so long in the morning? Do you know? I mean, it seems like it just returned back to what it was, and now it's like I can't even imagine what they're doing when they're blowing those horns. I mean, there's about an hour every morning where those horns are just going straight full throttle. Do you have any idea? Have you heard about that lately or no?
When are are you talking about the ones in Harriman?
Yes.
On the siding type?
So I don't know exactly where. I just know that they are loud and clear in Harriman every morning.
I hear
They
it.
only usually do that when they're doing a project.
Okay.
They have people on the tracks.
Is there a project going on maybe?
We do have one that goes by, and I hear him all the time in my house when he goes by Dave Gerard's on the bridge. He does that beep, 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 as they go by. I don't know who the engineer is, but he does it every time he goes by.
Right. Maybe it's that one and it's super loud, but this one is sustained. It's not like I'm zooming by and like, it goes. And I think honestly, the residents, I think, have just like almost surrendered to it, which I feel very badly about, obviously. Because I hear it every day and I'm not that close to the railroad track. What's that?
About what time?
I want to say about 8 o'clock, 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll just keep an eye on it. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is, as Election Day approaches, I think it's just important for all of us to note about the county has really done I think a really good job of putting information out there for best ways to vote. Obviously, in a circumstance like we are in, some people are uncomfortable going to the polls. I obviously think you should exercise your constitutional right to vote. And the county has put out expansive amounts of information about how you can vote by mail if that's something that you choose to do. Some people I know are concerned about the mail itself, right, and it getting out there, and the county's gonna have some drop boxes as well, where you can deliver it by hand and drop it in a box. So I would recommend you just go on buckscounty.org, I believe it is. If you go on, I just had it up here. It's buckscounty.org. They have a lot of information on the election itself. So, I would just like to recommend that people check that out.
A week early, tell them to vote a week early.
There you go. Vote a week early, not early and often, as some people like to say.
Yeah, just once,
Yes.
everybody. just
Have
once.
anything?
Yes. I wanted to make a request that in the Mill Street parking lot, if we could help the police department out by putting signage up. I don't know if this is possible, but that the park is closed at 11 or something like this, because people are staying in that parking lot till 4 a.m. And also, there's an RV that's been parking down there and sleeping overnight. We should put no RV parking as well. I want to know if there's anything that can be done about that.
Ordinance against RV.
If you want to answer it.
The RV's not there overnight.
It's not there all the time,
It's
but,
not there overnight. They
okay.
abide by the ordinance. It's a family. We've actually done outreach with them.
Mm-hmm,
We actually had Lenape come out and speak with them.
good.
So we're trying to get them assistance. It's a homeless family.
And there was also like a van that used to park there as well?
That I can't.
They even had clothes hanging, I mean, the whole bit.
And again, during the day, there's really nothing we can do about that.
But, is there signage? I haven't seen it, like signs that
He
say,
requested, Mr. Dillon has a memo from me requesting,
oh, he does?
yes,
Okay, so I think,
Dealing with it right
we
now,
gotta
I
follow
think.
through on that.
we're getting some clarity on actually what we can shut down and what we can't shut down
Okay.
under what the current ordinances that we have.
Okay, and the thing is, they leave so much trash in their wake. It's so tough for our borough workers as well to clean it up. I mean, it's so bad. A lot of times Shirley and I will go there and just put gloves on and just pick everything up. So, and also, since you're standing there are motorcycles. Greg and I keep getting calls about a motorcycle. He's probably going, what, 100?
Best.
Down.
It's not a he, it's multiple. And it's not a Bristol Borough problem. It is a
But
northeast
I
area.
kind of think,
And
go ahead.
we've cited several of them. We
Mm-hmm.
had a serious crash on 13 the other day. It's a extreme issue with us. We're working with the township trying to identify them. We have a real issue because we don't want to instigate a pursuit. And
Right.
put our officers at risk and also, more importantly, put the public at
Public.
risk. So it's a real catch-22.
I get it.
And you still have your restrictions of speed. You don't have speedometers.
You're not going to, the radar thing?
Radar, you don't
Well,
have-
We're still battling.
Right.
Every day we're still
Are you
battling.
getting any closer to getting it?
No,
No. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
I also have, on the corner of Mansion and Beaver, when you're entering Mansion Street, there's a big hole, Sally, in the ground that really it's right at the corner. If you fall in it, you're in trouble. It needs to be,
Is it in the street? It's like a
it's
pothole?
in the
a deep
middle
hole?
of the street.
Okay.
Okay, and then, I'm really thankful to, Mr. Dillon and just everybody. I had called about a pole on Inlet Street. The light was out, and I called in the morning, and by the afternoon, it was changed. And I'm just so appreciative. You guys are great. And, also, I had a fellow that lived on Inlet, called me and said that, his trash wasn't being picked up in front of his house. He had to put it on the corner in order for it to get picked up. He had to put it on Mansion Street. So, we addressed it with, our trash people, and they took care of that as well. But thank you to Mr. Dillon. He's really good. And, that's it. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So, I don't think I need to read you this, our work session thing, approval council minutes, adopt resolution, DEC, resolutions for the minimum municipal obligations, approval hiring of Lisa Pullen, full-time secretary. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I know Mr. Dillon's not here, but did we, do you know if we went through a thorough hiring process?
Yes.
Do you know how many applicants there were?
Well, whatever was here, Sally, how many?
There were 5 when we were.
5.
Oh, there were 5?
Okay.
Was that advertised,
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, just for that one, no.
And it was Sally and Mara's recommendation, that's who was hired.
Okay, thanks.
The purchase of the 2021 Ford with the snowplow for the CoStar bid, any questions on that?
Yeah, I had a question. If it only has 53,000 miles on it, and we haven't had snow in like 2 years to use it, how much is it gonna cost to get repaired?
Not the plow we're buying the truck.
But what I'm saying, it's the truck.
Plow
but
only
I'm-
goes on the truck when it's
Yeah,
snowing.
yeah, I'm just saying, but how much is it, because they said it was a bent frame.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that could be fixed.
You don't think it's something, did we get somebody to look at it?
I'm sure Mr. Dillon didn't put this on the agenda, Sally, I don't know if you know anything about it.
No, I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Vehicle is 15 years old. 15 years old.
Is this going to be a truck that we're going to be able to sell, or does it just get junked?
I think all our trucks get sold on the CoStar bid, or something we put them
Yeah,
on.
our municipal bid.
Right,
Do we have an idea of how much we're trying to get for that truck?
no idea. I think they put it out and their bids come in and they either accept it or reject them.
All right, I would just like to know that information before I voted on it, to see how bad it is. It reminds me of the time we did with we had what was that, the backhoe, that we got a new backhoe, but ours was in good enough shape that we gave it to the sewer department.
Right.
So I just wanted to see that. That's all I have for that one.
The Verizon wireless cell tower, so let me just explain this.
Okay.
They keep saying they want to install a cell tower, there's a fee involved, so much a year. It's really our decision. Do we even want to entertain these people to come in and talk again, or try to move forward, or just tell them we're not interested?
I'm not interested, only because I know that they want to rent that tower out and put more dishes or whatever they do on there to rent those spaces out where they make money, but then that is creating a health issue, I believe, for the kids and the residents that are going to be at the fields. Because I know that the way they explain is the lower that you go with those, those dishes or whatever they're putting, satellites or whatever they're putting on there, is that then it's not going over their head out into, to the distance. This one is kind of landing on people, so.
All right, so you're against it?
Yes, I am
Anybody
against.
else against it or for it?
I thought we could have explored a little bit more financially, but I'll defer to the rest of the council. I don't feel strongly about it. I mean, if the North Ward councilmen don't want it,
The thing
it's
is to
fine.
to bring them back.
Well, here's the thing, since we own the property, they're gonna have to go to zoning. And before they go to zoning, we should tell them, yes, we're willing to enter into a lease. Because if you're not, then don't waste our time.
Right.
But if you're interested, we'll hammer out the parameters of a lease, then they can go to zoning. And if they don't get zoning, then it's a problem. One thing they did was they did move it for us from between
Left field and
between left field
right
and
field.
to right field along the railroad tracks, so it has less exposure to people. So they've done that, and I think they want to give us 25 or 28,000 a year, plus a 5% increase every year.
From what I understand, it sounds like it's a pretty large,
I think it's 40 by,
The area they need the fence is like 20 by 40. The building's not going to be that large, but they need a buffer. So it's a pretty big area, but nobody uses that side anyway.
it's down the right field line.
As the one thing I said about why I thought maybe we should explore it, again, I'll defer to people that live in that area a little bit more. But I've been in the borough my whole life, and I've never made my way beyond first base outside of that field. So I don't know. Yeah, that's where
We
they
get
want.
it. We get
Hours
that.
in town.
What's that?
We feel.
Or inside of that field, really.
If there's one child that could get cancer from that, I say no.
My only concern is if we turn it down, if they go to zoning, and even if the zoning turns it down, they appeal it and somebody, the courts let them do it, we could end up with this on private property somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, they're
and then
going to
we-
approach Keystone Lighting to put it there, so it doesn't matter to them.
So I mean,
It's probably going to go up.
It's gonna go
unless
up.
Zoning denies it, but, right, if they go to private property,
It's going to go up whether we like it or not.
same thing.
I mean, it's kind of in a tucked out, when they moved it over to right field, that was,
They improve, which is just like the spraying. It's not harmful, it doesn't cause cancer, they got, all the documentation they want, that doesn't mean it's dirt. we don't believe it. But eventually, it's going in. They need a tower there. So it's up to us. Do we want 28,000 a year and put it in right field? Or do we want somebody else to get the 28,000 and we still got the tower?
Well, again, I wouldn't be opposed if they didn't take all the different levels of the tower and then just, they're
I
going.
don't think we could tell them.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, that's the problem that I have with it.
All right, so it's an agenda item, we'll vote on
Okay,
it.
real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it possible that they would be making more money than we're renting it
Absolutely.
from
They're
them?
gonna make a ton of money off of it.
Fred Baumgarten's got them all up on his building.
Right, but that's his
Grundy,
property, I'm saying.
Grundy
I'm saying-
Towers has them, right, Merle? They're all up on there.
What I'm asking is their plan to utilize it for Verizon Wireless, or is it to utilize it for,
I'm sure they're gonna sell space.
It's for them, if somebody else needs it. There is a limit on how many they can put on. Like the one we have one out in Congress, we own it. I think there's only 3 carriers. That's it.
And I think Antonelli's has them, okay?
Yeah, Antonelli's has one on the tower.
the presentation that they gave, if I remember, the guy gave all kinds of data about parts per unit or whatever. But I understood that to be, that's the kind of parts that Verizon would put up. I don't know if we would open up ourselves to say, well, that's what you're putting up, and then they could invite someone else to put something more.
Yeah, I don't know enough
I don't
about
know.
it, so. All right.
Mr. Sloan, are you 100% sure that they will go to Keystone and we're gonna have one
No.
there anyhow, no matter what?
No.
But
They're gonna go to
you're pretty
somebody,
sure
Dave.
they're gonna get one in that area on private property and we're gonna be out
Listen, if they're saying they need it to fill a gap, then they're gonna find a place to put it. It's not like they could say, we're gonna go a mile away, it's gotta be there. So I don't see why they wouldn't go to Keystone or go to Caro. They both own properties
Yeah,
there.
they may go to Ernie and ask them.
Yeah, well, listen, that might change my mind. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have one there anyhow, no matter what we do.
They have a dead spot somewhere and they need to fill that gap.
Yeah, they're
That's
not-
what they said here. We asked them, can you go back behind the Amish? They said it's too far. So no matter where we tried to direct them, they said even First Base side is too far. But they'll live with that. They said they could probably get a better signal.
Keystone might be out of their range.
Well, no, they could go in the front.
Keystone's right
Burger
across.
King.
They're right across from where they
Merle
want to
has
put it.
something he'd like to say.
I was wondering if they had looked at the other side of the canal, because the borough owns all that ground on the other side.
We told them about the canal. The problem is they gotta get to it. They, like, in the wintertime, if it's snowing and there's an issue or cell tower's down, they gotta get to this tower, to, repair it. That's why when, Third Base side and the right field side of the Little League field, they were gonna put tracks under the grass, because we told them, you're gonna be driving on this grass, you're gonna rut the whole place up. They said they put steel under it, where the grass can still grow through, and they could drive back and forth. They have to plow it. So we ended up talking to them about right field, which didn't go, finally they said, okay. But eventually, if they have a dead spot, they're gonna offer somebody enough money to make this work. So, all right, it's on the agenda, everybody could make a decision, we can table it, whatever you wanna do. The authorize the following casino fundings, anybody got any questions on that? Motion to authorize paying off the rink bonds, that's however you wanna handle that. Establishing a stop sign on Mill Street, except George Waldron's retirement. So that's all the things that were on our work session agenda, and we're adding, Sally, to the other agenda. What is it?
The
Number
vehicle.
12.
Yeah.
Number 12 is what?
Well, on this agenda, number 12 is, the police vehicle, that email I gave you.
I'm
And,
sorry. No, so it'll be number 14.
Oh, on this one, the motion to extend the outdoor eating resolution. Motion to extend the outdoor eating resolution.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna,
Michael's gonna make that motion.
That'll be 14.
Yeah.
You have,
That's gonna be.
do you wanna add something about borrowing money?
No, not until, until we figure out and,
Well, we're voting to pay off the rink bond. Do you want?
well, it's gonna,
It's
yeah.
cheaper not to pay it off.
No, pay it off and, you know,
You gotta go borrow money again, then it's more expensive to borrow it. That's what I'm saying.
break that down for me. Does it have to
We
be?
already have a loan in place, it's $660 a year.
Right.
So we don't need the financing, we don't have to do anything, we just take,
We're not gonna get any money out of that. We don't get any money out of that.
well, instead of paying off the 3.7 million, we won't pay it off.
Well, you have to pay it off because you bought it, didn't they?
We're taking the 3.7 to put it in the recreation.
Oh, you're saying don't spend as much to pay it
Yeah,
off, to
just
use that money.
pick a number, you want 2.5 million of the whatever you want. Make a motion tonight, we don't pay it off.
Well, the only problem with it is,
What?
I don't want to say, and then it's like, nobody's going to, you know.
Well, you just
in part
said
of the plan.
you want to put all this money in the recreation.
Yeah, but I want
And you'll
to,
vote for it.
listen, I'm not just going to say, I'm going to put this money up, and then I have nobody here that's going to support it. So that's what I'm saying to you. You make it sound like, you know, that you're not going to support it, so why put it up there?
What do I got? I mean.
You just said it, what do you mean?
have other
Because you
people
control,
here.
because it doesn't matter what those
That's
other
fine.
people say, it's what you say. I mean,
That's fine.
you didn't figure that out yet?
I figured out that you don't want to make the motion. You want to talk
There's no
about
motion
it.
to make.
You
What-
want to
what-
talk about it, but you don't want to
No,
say, don't pay off the
listen,
loan.
all you gotta say is, listen, Tony,
All
I'm
right.
100% with you, let's do it.
Okay.
Then we can make the motion.
You ready?
I wanted to make sure that, I think Sally had the motion for the police car, where we'll save,
Chief,
Yeah.
we'll save $15,000 on it.
right. Is it chief? Who wants to talk on this? You're the chief.
Well, he,
We're speaking of the Ford detective car. The reason why we're moving on that now, it's an actual leftover. So we talked to the Ford dealer, and pretty much the way police models are going nowadays in sedans, they don't make them anymore. So we have this ability to get this vehicle. It's basically going to save us a good $15,000.
So that's going to be number 15 on the agenda.
we had talked to Mr. Jones, and we said he'd put it on the-
Can I have that?
Email right here. So, number 15 is to purchase a police vehicle, and let me get the cost. Off the CoStar bid.
Yeah,
Off of who?
CoStar.
CoStar bid.
that's the state where you don't have to go out. for
Right.
bids.
Is there a number in here?
Pre-approved.
25,000.
Pardon me?
25,000?
25,000.
That includes the upfit.
Okay. All right. Any other thing we need to add to the agenda?
That's it.
Start, or anybody out there for public participation?
Yes.
Participation. Joe, you have anything?
No, sir.
Mayor's communication,
Mr. President,
public participation, number 3.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the council meeting minutes for August 10th, 2020, to accept the police and DJ's report for August 2020, to accept the fire chief's report for August 2020, to accept the inspection department report for August 2020, to accept the Public Works Department report for July and August 2020, and to accept HARB for August 31st, 2020.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Gerard. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 4.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution for DCED multimodal grant in the amount of $1,254,218 for the Maple Beach Road Bridge replacement.
Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution for the 2020 minimal municipal obligation, non-uniform pension plan.
Second by Ms. Dolan. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution for a 2020 minimal municipal obligation, uniformed pension plan.
Second by Mr. Gerard. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number
Mr.
7.
President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the hiring of Lisa Pullen for full-time administrative clerk position, subject to necessary posting.
Do I have a second? Second by Michael. Questions or comments? So, we needed to post this positions, it was posted today, but you have 3 days if anybody wants the job, meaning, the only one we want is anybody in the street and highway, so if one of the guys wanted to be a secretary, they can take it. So it's subject to, if nobody accepts it, she's hired full-time. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the purchase of 2021 Ford with snowplow under co-stars in amount of $43,781 to replace the existing vehicle truck 11, 2005, that has 54,173 miles with a bent frame.
Second.
I have a question. I probably
Wait,
won't vote.
Dave, you second it, or you have?
I second.
Dave,
Okay, was it second?
did you second the motion, or did you just raise your hand?
No, I didn't second it.
Okay, Mr. Croce seconded. Questions, Dave?
I'm sorry, yeah, question. Before I vote on that, I think Tony had a good point. 54,000 miles on a truck is nothing. I would like, I know they do fix bent frames. I would like to, before we spend $44,000, I'd like to see how much it would cost to, if it can be fixed, and how much that bent frame would cost.
I'm 99% sure that this was all looked into, and it can't be fixed. Louis?
There's another issue here. That truck's 15 years old. Low mileage because, they're only traveling within town, but when trucks get to be 15 years old, when you're doing major repairs on them today, it comes back to haunt you. This is,
Look, I'm driving around trucks with 35 years old.
Dave, but
All right.
other issue.
Any other
You're in love with
questions?
that truck. We've got guys who,
All my trucks got.
Any
all my
other
trucks are
questions?
30 years old.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to consider the proposal from Verizon Wireless to install a new cell tower at the Jefferson Avenue complex.
All right, so the solicitor is saying it's only a motion to talk to him, not a motion to agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, second by Mr. Catroci. Any other
Can
questions?
negotiate that, right?
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the filing of a casino funding application for payoff of county loan for the police radios, purchase police body cameras, purchase police vehicle, purchase public works vehicle, pay off a county loan for rescue squad radios, relocate Pat at Beaver and Pond Street per PennDOT request.
That's path.
Okay. I didn't misread it. It says Pat, FYI.
Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number
Mr.
11.
Mr.
I
President,
don't know what that was.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the paying off defeasing of the rink bonds.
Second. Second by Mr. Pezza. Questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question. So, is there a way that we could just wait to pay off? You gotta pay them off now, or?
Now,
Yeah, it's set up for the 20.
Gotcha.
we set it up so the money gets transferred right, pay it off, done. Why keep paying interest?
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? The only thing I can say is that I think it's an outstanding deal, no matter who tries to change the narrative of the whole thing. The taxpayers of this town are going to save 15% on their taxes. They wasted money for 20 years, way before any of us got here, and I'm not blaming or faulting anybody else that voted for this. I may have voted for the rink if I was sitting here back then, you don't know, but I think it's a good deal for our taxpayers. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the advertisement of the ordinance establishing a stop sign on Mill Street at Basin Street.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Pezza. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 13.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept George Waldron, Public Works Director, retirement, email dated August 31st, 2020, last day of work Thursday, October 29th, 2020, actual retirement date March 1st, 2021.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments?
Congratulations to George.
We're going to miss him. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 14.
And I'd like to make a motion to extend the guidelines for outdoor sales and outdoor dining. I guess we need to determine how long now.
You could say till May 1st if you want.
Okay, so let's go into the spring of May 1st,
Let's put a date
2000.
on, let's put a date on that.
First 2021.
1st, 2021.
Second by Ms. Coleman. Questions or comments? Mr. Devine.
Yes, I have a comment. The comment is, I absolutely understand why we would want to extend this for all of the small businesses and eateries in town. The concern that I have is that the last time that we put it there, that there's going to be special treatment that is given to certain people, right? For instance, at Jules at Market, as a council, we decided that we're going to give 2 spots during Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever the peak time for dining would be. And for some reason, and I don't know if it's because the owner of the building is Council President Ralph DiGiuseppe, but they have 4 permanent spots they took up with concrete barriers that are going to be taken up all the time, not just during the peak hours of dinner. So now there's 4, not just 2, there's 4 meters that have been blocked off to take away parking from residents that are in that area. And on top of that, the other part about it is what I don't like, is that I feel like that we are creating like 2 teams here. It's like Team Mill Street and then the rest of Team Bristol. And we're losing people, good people that are coming into this community, the types of people that we talk about that we want to have in here, that they're selling their properties because of the way they were treated when they came into a meeting by Councilman Gorman and our Council President DiGiuseppe. Shouted, talked, and all they wanted to do was, they wanted to say their piece. And we have council members who act so nice in the public when they're out, when they're out getting people's votes or shaking hands, kissing babies. But then you get the true version of what they're really like when somebody asks them to do something that they don't want to do. So if we are really trying to raise the bar and bring these types of people into this community, we have to make sure that we take care of them, that we treat them right, not that they're going to move out and then move to Yardley. So those are the couples, these are the people we're trying to keep, but our own council, our representatives of town, force them out. That's the problem that I have with it. So I'm going to vote yes for it, but I just want to put that on the record, that it should not be fair, it should not be special treatment because you know somebody or you're indebted to somebody on council or in a place of, where you have some power and authority, so.
Okay, so just so you know, it's my property and I know it bothers you, but you voted for that motion for outdoor dining and for tents.
Okay.
So that tent had to be put up. The reason there's concrete barriers out there is for the safety of the people. You can't move them every day. The other thing is when there's meters blocked off, it goes through the police department, and that's the chief of police's decision to hand out meter bags, not Ralph DiGiuseppe's. And I do not tell the chief what to do. That I can guarantee you.
So, do you think that it's a coincidence that Jules at Market has 4 spots and nobody else does, and they're permanent? They can't even take them off because they put concrete barriers, and I agree that you need concrete barriers there.
So what's the option? Tell her she can't use it? You voted for it.
No, I don't, we voted
All right,
for two
there's a
spots.
motion on the floor.
Listen, this is not how you handle the
Ed.
meeting. You gave me the floor,
Ed.
I'm responding. We voted for 2 spots on a temporary basis for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whatever that time was, that was the main,
I don't know what
time
you're
for.
talking about.
No.
The ordinance?
To put 2 bags. You
No,
said.
that was for pickup, not for the tents.
Well, then why are there 4 bags covering her meters then?
There's no more bags covering her meters.
Well, she don't have to, because.
No, she has a tent, and that's what you voted for.
No, listen, you want to play games because, listen,
Not playing
listen,
games.
it is playing games. Because if that was somebody else's business, they wouldn't be able to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Anybody in,
No.
any business in Bristol
Okay.
Borough, whether it's on Farragut Avenue, if it's the Borough Pub can go out on Farragut Avenue and take up as much space as they want on their sidewalk, Finney McGee's can do it. Anybody in town that owns a restaurant besides Ratcliffe and Mill Street, because it's a state highway and they can do it if they get permission, is permitted to put up a tent permanent for X amount of months. Not just Jules at Market. Jules at Market decided to do that. And you talk about bringing people in town, there's more people eating at that place that are from out of town that love Bristol Borough. So we should be honored, the business that she has, just like the King George.
I'm not knocking
Go
the
out
business.
back at the King George. It's packed every night.
Not knocking the business at all. I'm knocking the special treatment.
Well, there is no
Listen,
special-
I'm not a fish guy.
There
I
is
hear
no
all
special
kinds of
treatment.
positive things about that. Absolutely.
There is
I'm
no
not
special
knocking the
treatment.
business.
Okay.
Their special treatment is the problem that I have with
But
it.
you want to give that perception
You know,
because
it's
of
not a
that.
perception, Ralph. It's what you do. What do you mean?
What did I do?
I don't know. You tell me. Nothing.
Tell me, you're making the statement.
Well, because didn't you just...
You're saying I
Didn't you
gave
just
her...
sell, wait, didn't you just sell a rink without anybody else involved?
Now you're,
Do you
see,
think that
that's your
that's special
problem.
treatment?
When you're wrong, you want to
No, it's not
distract.
wrong. I still feel the same.
wanna
I'm giving you an
deflect the
example.
question.
I'm giving you an example of how that
There's
special
a motion
treatment...
on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry. What's that?
I'm going to recuse myself from voting.
All in favor? Opposed?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to purchase a police vehicle through CoStar, $25,000 with the upfill.
With the what?
Second?
Oh.
By Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President, I'd like to, adjourn the meeting.
There's a motion by Louis. Second by Lorraine.
You make it.